Good morning and welcome. May I request Chief Guest for the function, Professor Date, Head of Mechanical Engineering Department. So welcome to this IST workshop on computational fluid dynamics. What is the number of participants this time finally? So about 1400 colleague teachers from various colleges are participating in this workshop. I'll speak about these workshops, the present and the future later. But let me begin the proceedings by introducing Professor Date to all of you. It's very difficult to introduce Professor Date in few words because other than the fact that he has been a colleague here, he has been a personal friend for almost 4 decades. His wife was my colleague in the computer science department for decades again. You would have known about Professor Date's books, for which he is well known here, and most of us admire him for the academic contributions that he has made there. But some of us admire him far more for the work that he has done in appropriate technology. He was one of the creators of the Center for Appropriate Technology here, called Sitara. He has personally spent years in a small village away from Mumbai in order to both understand the problems of the villagers and to innovate what kind of technology solutions could be brought in an affordable fashion for the benefit of those villagers. The lamp which he lit then continues unabated. Sitara is now a full-fledged academic body of the institute, offering PhD programs and master's programs in the development of work. Another proud privilege is a colleague of mine from the computer science department now heads that. There is much more that we can talk about, but I am very happy to have Professor Date here because he combines the unique qualities of academic acumen coupled with sensitivity and the desire to give to the society that part of the society which actually deserves the cutting edge technology to solve their problems in an affordable way. So all your Professor Date.
Thank you, Professor Pathak, for nice words and inviting me for this inauguration. Incidentally, this is my first invitation for an inauguration, and I'm reminded of my school days when we used to play cricket, and when somebody dropped a catch or misfielded, we used to say invite him for inauguration of something or a prize distribution of something. Let me take you to my college days now after school, and when I was a student in my college, you won't believe it, I had not heard the word fluid mechanics. The only words known to us was hydraulics in the second year, and in the final year we straight away jumped to hydraulic machines, and the connection was through the Bernoulli's equation, simple Bernoulli's equation. I heard the word fluid mechanics when I started doing postgraduate. Words such as boundary layer, viscous flow, inviscid flow, and so on and so forth, irrotational flow, rotational flow, and all that. All these categories began to make sense only in my master's course. It so turned out, of course, that the Bernoulli's equation was a very special case of the Euler's equation. And then little later it dawned that the Euler's equation was a special case of the Navier's equation. But the Navier's equation could not be solved, and therefore Stokes's laws were required to make the equation set solvable, and thus was born the Navier-Stokes equation. CFD, or the computational fluid dynamics, is essentially about solving these equations, which were postulated in 1822. Strangely, much of the practical work or of results of practical importance having a bearing on Navier-Stokes equations were facilitated by a man called Osborne Reynolds. Osborne Reynolds, as you know, was the first professor of engineering anywhere in the world, and he took his chair in 1868 at University of Manchester. And his 1859 paper on dynamical theory of fluid motion is a classic paper, and incidentally it's available on the website for anybody to download, and I request all of you to once download it and see how much he had said, which is now being implemented. I have fond memory of this paper and the celebrated experiment of Osborne Reynolds, because in 1968 I was a student at Manchester, and they had held a centenary celebration of appointment of Osborne Reynolds as a professor of engineering in University of Manchester. And I had the privilege of standing behind the celebrated experiment because there was an open day following the conference on the first day, where the school students came and had a look at this experiment. And when a sizable number of students gathered around the experiment, my job was to open the die, the tap, and let the die pass, so that and Professor Jackson would then explain what was meant by laminar flow, how it turned to transitional and then to fully turbulent by observing the changes in the manner in which the die developed inside the tube. So, fluid mechanics began with huge amount of disagreement between what was observed practically and what simple solutions of Navier-Stokes equations could give you. And the manner in which people overcame this difficulty in those days was through what was called similarity analysis, where you maintain between the experiment on a lab scale and the practical equipment geometric, kinematic, and dynamic similarities. Of course, you needed a lot of conviction to believe what the similarity analysis was telling you. Where CFD came as a big boon to engineers is precisely in overcoming the uncertainties of similarity analysis, because Navier-Stokes equations are scale neutral. Yeah? You can apply them to flow of a river, flow of the atmosphere, groundwater flow, flow in a heat exchanger, flow over a gas turbine blade. You can apply it to flow inside a artery of your human body, and so on and so forth. And now people say you can even analyze the heat and mass transfer processes and the fluid flow processes that take place inside a single cell of a lung. So, because after all, you see, in the earlier days, a laboratory experiment essentially meant that you did an experiment on something which are of a smaller scale than the practical equipment. But when it comes to human body and what happens inside a cell, well, there is no such thing as a laboratory scale human cell. You see, you either see it in its nascent dimensions or you don't see it. You can't create a cell of 1 meter diameter. Yeah, I mean that's not possible. So that is where scale neutrality of Navier-Stokes equation is so very vital. And increasingly, we are dealing with fluids which you cannot touch, and therefore laboratory experiments are not possible, and so on and so forth, where CFD is very, very vital. Finally, let me say that Professor Phatak is a computer science professor, and one of the things that people in computer science claim was that we will soon have a paperless society. Yeah? Well, I think CFD people can very well claim that we will very soon have laboratory-less colleges. Okay? Because everything that can be done on a laboratory scale or a real scale can be done inside a computer and solved in a scale neutral manner. So with these few thoughts, I wish you well. That incidentally, I was just reminded this morning while talking with Professor Gaitonde that I'm reading a book called 17 Equations That Change the World. And it will please you to note that Navier-Stokes equations stand in line with Pythagoras equation and Schrodinger equation and so on and so forth. So it is one of the 17 equations that changed the world in the last 400 years. So all the very best to you, and do take great interest in this course. I'm supposed to say something about what makes a good teacher. Well, I don't know much about that. All I would suggest is get hold of a good book and solve the problems at the back of each chapter before you begin to teach. And if you can't solve the problem, do consult somebody who can solve the problem, and he may well be your junior. So keep that in mind, and I'm sure you will do well. All the very best to you.
Thank you very much, Professor Date, for those wise words, particularly the wise words at the end, because teaching is about learning to the best of your abilities and not hesitating in learning from anyone. A fact which all faculty members in IIT have been practicing, thanks to senior colleagues such as Professor Date showing the way. Incidentally, I forgot to mention, but he is also an accomplished teacher apart from being an accomplished researcher. That's the reason, by the way, for which he was invited to join the Rahul Bajaj chair in the department. And although he retired, as all of us have to retire, IIT won't let go of him. So he is an emeritus fellow of the institute and continues to serve us and the academic community further. Thank you very much, Professor Date, for joining us. May I request Professor Vedula to say a few words on this occasion?
Okay. Just like Professor Date, I have never been asked to say anything in front of a huge audience. And unlike Professor Date, I did not have advance notice also. Just now, Professor Phatak just tells me, go say something. I really, usually, even if I were told to speak, I usually am not able to speak very much. I go for a class. In the class, I can talk for 50 minutes, but outside, usually no more than a few minutes is all I can do. All I can say is, wish you all the best, and you're going to learn a lot from this course, take a lot of interest, and try to do your tutorials, which are going to be very serious, because like Professor Date has said, if you are going to try to understand the subject properly, you should be able to solve the problems. And like he has said, now you have two of the teachers or two of the coordinators who are doing this course who are going to be able to help you. You don't have to go anywhere else. They are there to help you out with your problems. Wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, Professor Vedula. And sorry for not giving you an advance notice, but what you spoke, the little as it might have been, makes eminent sense for all the teachers across the country. I would also like to tell you that when this project was started to conduct workshop for teachers using information and communication technology, there was a bit of a skepticism in the early days. I remember when I made a presentation to the Ministry of Human Resources, they said, can this model be effective if you collect 800,000 teachers across the country? We took a tentative step by running a pilot. It was hugely successful because the technology available does permit not just people to listen to the expert lectures from IIT or any other place, but also to interact with those experts. Our model, which envisages 30 to 40 to 50 people to assemble at a remote center, so that there is an equivalent of a classroom environment and a lab environment in each of these places, and then address all the 1,000 participants across multiple centers from one place, has worked out very well. The person who used that model to non-computer science courses for the first time is Professor Uday Gaitonde, whom when we requested whether he would teach a course in thermodynamics, that was the first course. Well, the initial proposal was we requested him to conduct a course on introduction to mechanical engineering, because that's the name of the course that is offered to first year, second year students across the country. He flatly refused after looking at the multiple syllabi of the introduction to mechanical engineering, and he claimed that thermodynamics is at heart of most of the things. So if I am okay with a course on thermodynamics, he is okay with it. What I wanted to tell you is that he liked the model, he appreciated the interaction, he felt that the participating teachers were benefited, and he then became a crusader and convinced a lot of his colleagues to come forward and participate in more and more such workshops. In fact, it is my pleasure to admit that more than computer science or electrical or other faculty members, it is the faculty members of the mechanical engineering department of IIT Bombay who have offered maximum number of workshops here and have benefited maximum number of teachers. Can we just have a visual of the colleagues who have assembled here, please? So these are our colleagues from the mechanical engineering department, and in coming years, I would expect them to participate with greater vigor, because the model has been just recently approved to be upscaled significantly. We have been asked whether this model can be scaled up to address 10,000 teachers across the country rather than just 1,000 teachers. So the first mega workshop on a subject of common interest, which we have termed Introduction to Research Methodologies, is going to be conducted from 25th June to 4th of July. Almost all the remote centers at which you are currently attending this workshop would also be hosting that workshop. We have added another 120 remote centers. The registration is still on, so those of you who are interested, or you can talk to your colleagues who might be interested to register online. And we expect in this particular set of workshops, which will come over the next few years, thanks to the MHRD promising sufficient funding, we expect our colleagues from mechanical engineering department to not only give new courses, but also be willing to offer again some of the workshops which they have already conducted, because for all 1,000 teachers whom they have empowered, there are 10,000 teachers waiting to be empowered further. With this, let me conclude by introducing the two faculty members who will be coordinating this particular workshop. I would like to invite them here briefly and welcome them with bouquets. Professor Bhalchandra Puranik and Professor Atul Sharma. Thank you, Atul. Before we conclude the morning session, I would like to request the coordinating faculty members to say a few words. Of course, you will be listening to them for quite some time over the next 2 weeks, but still.
Yeah, good morning everyone. I am Bhalchandra Puranik, one of the 2 coordinators for this workshop. First of all, I'd like to thank Professor Phatak and his team for giving us the opportunity to do this class. And as he said, we are going to be talking to you for the next 2 weeks. The first almost 1 week I'll be talking to you, and the next 1 week Professor Sharma will be. So we will have plenty of interaction throughout these 2 weeks. What I'll suggest is that try to keep your interest up, and we will try to do our best so that at the end of 2 weeks, you can say that you have had a decent experience and are going out with sufficient material with which you can offer this course yourself. So with this, I will pass on the mic to Professor Sharma so that he can say a few words. Thank you.
I would welcome all of you to this course. I would like to thank Professor Phatak for giving us an opportunity to take this course. I had always been interested in using technology in teaching, and since I joined IIT Bombay in 2004, I had been earlier associated with Center for Distance Engineering Education program. And as I had been in computational fluid dynamics, where I enjoy creating animations, and CFD is also an acronym for colorful fluid dynamics, which you will see a lot in my lecture slides. So I would like to thank Professor Phatak for these bigger opportunities. And we'll have a lot of interactions, so I would end here and wish you all the best and enjoyable experience in this workshop. Thank you.
There is a unusual request from one of the remote centers where from VNIT Nagpur, our friends who have gathered there wanted to make an observation. So may I hand over the control to VNIT Nagpur. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, Professor Phatak, Professor Gaitonde. This is Dr. Gokhale, Director of VNIT Nagpur. I have been observing and we are participating in these programs with great vigor. We have about 50 members, faculty members from our own institute as well as other institutes, and we thank you very much, for arranging these programs and workshops, in the computational fluid dynamics area or mechanical engineering type of programs. I personally know quite a few of the faculty members from IIT Mumbai. I've been working in CFD for a little over 35 years myself. So it is a great pleasure as well as fortune for us that larger body of faculty members, they are participating in these workshops. They would, I am definite, they would be benefited immensely, especially in the era where the computers or the computational resources are becoming cheaper by the day. This CFD holds a great promise, as Professor Date was mentioning, that numerical experimentation is going to take over the laboratory experimentation, and all of us are eager to listen to the experts, for the next 2 weeks. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, Professor Gokhale. Your observations provoke me to say a few more things here. The first and foremost, people like Professor Gokhale, who have worked for example, as he said, about 35 years in CFD, they exist at various places. Why is it that all of us are not able to listen to courses given by such eminent people just because they are not physically available at such a hub as IIT Bombay? You remember I spoke about 10,000 teachers workshops. One of the central themes about such workshops in future would be creation of nodal centers, and these multiple nodal centers will eventually be able to offer such workshops across the country, from using expert faculty both at the nodal centers themselves as well as other places. So, Professor Gokhale, if you are still listening, VNIT is one of the top contenders to become a nodal center. You will soon hear from me requesting you to participate in the expanded venture. The second is your mention of computations replacing all laboratories. I recall a very funny incident when I was Dean of Resources in IIT Bombay in 1995 and was in charge of sanctioning budgets for various departments. And department after department, and I am talking about engineering departments and science departments, instead of asking for funds for equipment, they were all asking for funds for computers and servers. And I was quite surprised, and I started asking each head as to why do you need so many computers? He says, no, we all do simulation, we all do simulation. So I was slightly perplexed and went to my director, Professor Sukhatme, then, and asked him that I was under the impression that engineering departments are also supposed to do actual engineering. And he looked at those requests and he says, Professor Phatak, unless the request for simulation computers is accompanied by request for actual engineering equipment, please don't approve anything. So I would think that the real world requires a balance. I would think that the engineers, while they must be familiar with and comfortable in using the most recent computational techniques to solve problems, they must also simultaneously be willing to dirty their hands and construct and operationalize certain things for the benefit of ordinary people in the world. I think both of these things go hand in hand. I don't think one is a replacement for the other. But anyway, so much for the digression. I think we still have time. I would now like to request Professor Gaitonde to share some of his experiences and some of the tips that he would like to leave behind for participants as to how to maximize the advantage of such a model of the workshop and what exactly they should keep in mind and what exactly they should do when participating in a workshop in the remote mode in this fashion. Since he is a stalwart of being associated with this program almost from the second workshop onwards, and we have conducted 9 such workshops benefiting, I think now the number will stand at about 11,500. So, Professor Gaitonde, for a few remarks, please.
Thank you very much, Professor Phatak. I somehow got into this business with a meeting with Professor Phatak maybe a year and a half ago. So I am nowhere near a stalwart. I am just a person who got involved in this, but somebody who has participated sincerely and has started enjoying it. As Professor Phatak said that he goaded me to start something in Introduction to Mechanical Engineering, and my survey of the so-called syllabus and course curriculum told me that the Introduction Mechanical Engineering course was a hash-up, mix and match, which doesn't really mean anything. And not only that, along with it, it hashed up another of my favorite courses, that is thermodynamics. It was partly in Introduction to Mechanical Engineering, partly in some other course. So not only during that time, but during my teaching of thermodynamics to graduate students who come with background in other engineering colleges, I realized that although they have been taught thermodynamics, they have not been taught thermodynamics properly in one single go. So the basic principles of thermodynamics and hence their primary applications are not well appreciated and well understood. And this was at the back of my mind since the year 2001, when a small organization in Pune asked many of our faculty members to come over for a one-day seminar, and I was given a 20-minute talk. And I selected the topic as teaching thermodynamics to teachers, or something like that. And it so turned out that although I gave a 20-minute talk, the question answer session spilled over the tea time which followed and tried to spill over in the next lecture where I had to somehow stop it. But that was at the back of my mind, and when Professor Phatak proposed this, I said, if it is thermodynamics, I will definitely do it. And I am very pleased to say that that was really a successful program, because for the first time at something like 31 or 32 centers, around 850 thermodynamics teachers of various backgrounds, all from mechanical engineering or mostly from mechanical engineering, came together, and we had very good time discussing the various aspects of thermodynamics, particularly from the point of view of teacher-student interaction in an undergraduate mechanical engineering course. During those 10 days of actual workshop and the 5-day of coordinators workshop, there was a lot of interaction. I am sure the participants learned a lot, but I too learned a lot about the ground situation of teaching of thermodynamics and the type of problems the teachers and hence their students face. On the Moodle, which you will start using soon, the thermodynamic question answer thing has been active for quite some time. The activity has gone down a bit now, but it is one of those live interactions that still continue. One of the things which has happened after that interaction is, whenever I visit an engineering college for some reason or the other, there are always about half a dozen or 1 dozen people who have either attended that course or indirectly participated in that course, because the recordings are all available on the net now. So many people who did not attend or could not attend for some reason have indirectly started absorbing what happened in that workshop through those their colleagues and the recorded lectures. And I have to provide an impromptu tutorial session or a difficulty session or a discussion session wherever I go. So interactions have increased, and I am sure and I am told that interactions have increased between thermodynamic faculty members of various colleges. And I hope that has already started happening in other courses, particularly those from mechanical engineering. We have Professor Prabhu here, who was part of the, and of course Professor Arun Kumar Sridharan, who were the coordinators for the second course in mechanical engineering, that is heat transfer. And now we have the third course in fluid dynamics and computational fluid dynamics. So my recommendation to you is participate in the course, but let this course not be the end of your interaction with your colleagues and your quote unquote teachers from IIT Bombay. ICT is used not only for this course, but will continue to be used through Moodle and other devices for continuing interaction. So keep on interacting, and I am sure this will improve your understanding of the various aspects of mechanical engineering, and hence it would improve the teaching, and hence would improve the future mechanical engineers which come out of our colleges. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Gaitonde. There is one more request from Shivaji University.
So thank you, Professor Pathak, for giving us this opportunity to have this kind of workshop here. We are a recently started new department. Just 4 years we have gone through this experience, and I appreciate all the efforts that you have been taking and giving us this opportunity, because young staff, they need the kind of orientation that you are giving, and I hope that they will take these practices actually into the classroom. So I am extremely thankful and hope to have the similar kind of cooperation in the years to come by. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for those nice and encouraging words. In fact, it is the remote centers such as yours which form the fulcrum around which we are able to construct this useful workshop model. It is the workshop coordinators at the remote centers who take the responsibility of not only handling all the organizational aspects, providing the necessary equipment and infrastructure in the classroom and in the labs, which is done by what we call a remote center coordinator. But additionally, there are workshop coordinators at each remote center who are themselves specialists in the subject chosen. In this particular case, we have computational fluid dynamics expert at each of the remote centers. For the benefit of the participating teachers from various colleges, I think you would all appreciate that these workshop coordinators have spent as much as a week here in IIT Bombay, where our workshop coordinators from IIT Bombay have interacted with them, have understood the kind of teaching that is done in the colleges, have understood the kind of questions that are asked in the examination system, and this has helped them to formulate the syllabus for this. Additionally, all the workshop coordinators have participated in rigorous lab sessions here, and they are themselves therefore completely able to supervise the lab and the tutorial sessions that will be conducted there. One request for the workshop coordinators is that they should perhaps be a bit more proactive in trying to directly answer questions which are raised by the participants there, rather than simply transmitting them forward to IIT Bombay. However, when they do so, all good questions and good answers that emerge out of such local discussion may kindly be documented and posted on the Moodle for the benefit of all other participants. Indeed, creation of collaborative communities across the country in different subjects of people, not only teachers but later on even students working in that area, is one of the ambitions of this project. As Professor Gaitonde said, we propose to release the audio-visual recording of the course as well as the entire material, including the tutorials, the problem set and the answers on a website. They are currently available, but the website currently is not scalable and is not easily reachable by people. We will be launching a formal website built around an open source framework called Joomla, which will provide the equivalent of the content management of Moodle, as well as a facility for interactive forums, where forums in multiple subjects can spring up across the country. I would also like to take few minutes to tell you about some of the future plans. Some remote centers will recall that we had used a device locally designed at IIT called Clicker in order to conduct online quizzes in some of the earlier workshops. IIT Bombay has now been charged with the responsibility of trying to make the Akash tablet educationally useful to our engineering colleges. The project came to IIT Bombay just 3 months ago, but in last 3 months, hundreds of faculty, research students and even summer interns have worked hard to already develop some useful applications on the Akash tablet device. We have placed an order for a large number of these devices, and our ambition is now to deploy these devices starting with the remote centers. At each of the remote centers, we propose to deploy these devices, about 60 or 70 for experimentation with a classroom, how exactly these devices can be used in a course that is being taught by a teacher. Additionally, we propose to make available about 20 to 30 devices for development of new applications and new contents to final year students of engineering, not necessarily computer science students alone, but perhaps some kind of interdisciplinary projects which spring up in each of these colleges. We hope to get our engineering college fraternity, the academic fraternity comprising of teachers and students, to work over the next year to develop meaningful applications and contents, not only for engineering education, but even for school education and college education, so that the tablets could be made an effective tool in coming years, when we expect the proliferation of these tablets in the society will increase very rapidly, just as cell phones have increased. Why I mentioned the Akash tablet is that in future workshops starting from December, the Akash tablets will be used to conduct online quizzes in a distributed fashion for this 10,000 teachers workshops. So, all the remote centers will be equipped with adequate Akash tablets to be used actually in the workshops. In fact, we could not get the delivery started soon enough. Otherwise, my ambition was to use these tablets in this very course for a reason other than just conducting quizzes. Some of our people working in the free and open source software led by Professor Kannan, Professor Prabhu Ramchandran, Professor Madhu Bellur have actually implemented a programming environment on top of the Android operating system of these Akash tablet and have successfully implemented C, C++, Python language compiler systems. More exciting for participants of this workshop, the Scilab has been ported onto Akash tablet. So, you can actually run Scilab code onto the tablet instead of having to go to a desktop or connect to a server. We believe that in coming years, these tablets, which are normally considered to be access devices, and of course, they are access devices through which you can access NPTEL lectures or video lectures of this workshop using Wi-Fi connectivity wherever you are, or using an SD card where these lectures are recorded. But we often forget that it is not just a low cost access device, it is also a full fledged computer. Although it costs less than 2,500 rupees, the computational power that this tablet Akash has far exceeds the power of a high end PC-80 of the earlier years. In fact, the processor is more capable than the Pentium processor of Intel. Given that, it is important that it also be exploited as a computational tool, and towards that our efforts are going on currently. I have decided to dovetail the Akash project which IIT Bombay has to execute over the next 2 years with the national mission workshops that we conduct, so that each one benefits from the other. Let us come back to the main theme of this workshop, which is on computational fluid dynamics. So, let me bring your attention back to the activities that need to be conducted under this workshop. Please appreciate that the coordinators here have worked very hard to create sufficient number of experiments or computational code, which all of you will be working on during the lab sessions. Please pay special attention to the way you solve these problems. As Professor Date rightly said, the equations were there, but solving those equations in different circumstances for different parameters was not an easy task, and that is why people are still working continuously on those solutions. This is your opportunity to get the best out of the experts, not only here at IIT Bombay, but at your local centers and amongst yourselves. So, I would like to wish you all the best. Please do participate in all Moodle related activities. I believe some quizzes etc. would be conducted, and you will have to answer those quizzes. Please also appreciate the fact that at the conclusion of this workshop, all of you are likely to be given an assignment, a team assignment, which you will have to complete within 2 weeks, and no IST certificate will be issued unless this assignment is submitted and is weighted by the local workshop coordinator of your remote center as being adequate. The purpose is not merely to hold back your certificate, but the purpose really is to get meaningful additional contents developed, whether it is in the form of tutorials, it is in the form of question bank, it is in the form of anything that you can, your coordinators will decide. All of that material with due recognition and credit to the team which develops that will be also included in our open source release of the course contents. In short then, enjoy the workshop, learn as much as you can, but also contribute as much as you can for the benefit of other 10,000–15,000 teachers who have not been able to attend this course, though you have been able to. Let us all work together to reach the benefit of whatever we do over the next 2 weeks, and whatever you do additionally for 2 more weeks, to all those 10,000, 15,000 teachers and lakhs of students across the country in coming years. Before concluding, I must formally recognize a huge amount of work that has been done by teams which neither the participating teachers nor the coordinators see that. Although we have more than 60 people working tirelessly for making this workshop successful, let me mention just a few names. Can we have the camera on those people? Our coordinator is Dr. Mukta Atre. Oh, Mukta is in that corner. Yes, you can see her. Many of the workshop coordinators have been interacting with her. She is a stern lady, but let me assure you that she solves problems very, very efficiently and effectively. We also have our finance manager, I call her finance minister of the project, Ms. Jaya. She would be in charge of ensuring that all of you get paid for the expenses incurred, subject of course to the approved processes. She is very keen on those approved processes. Do we have Sajjan here? Yes. Mr. Sajjan Kumar Dikshit is the manager who is in charge of the audio-visual team. In fact, you can gloss over the entire audio-visual team to see how. Hello. So these are the people who actually make the AView thing work. There are a large number of, Sushant, the second in command, is hiding behind. He is always busy in solving problems. We also have a large number of programmers and project assistants, programmers who actually look after the workshop Moodle, who look after the workshop web pages, who handle the registration issues. You will appreciate that when 1,400 people have to be registered and have to be allocated remote centers and have to be checked for their documents that are uploaded, etc., you do require a large team. Usually such team works in the background, is not visible, and therefore rarely acknowledged. I would like to take this opportunity to formally thank all of them, because without them this would not have been possible. Of course, when I expand this workshop model to 10,000 teachers, I would not have liberty to have 10 times more employees. So my colleagues, I would also like them to appreciate that they have perhaps not 10 times but 5 times more work to do in coming year. Thank you so much. With this note, we will break for tea.